All right. Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 1st, the beginning of a new month. And hopefully there's some sort of symbolic, uh, change in the outcomes of my trading, improvement and progression this month. I have drafted up a set of rules. I made a video about it yesterday, and I may touch on it again today. But over the weekend, I took some time off of trading, made a rule set for myself um, to allow my emotions not dictate my trading, but rather a set of rules that have been kind of weeded out from lessons I've learned, observations of what's worked in the past and what hasn't. So, with that being said, we're looking at the daily chart here. So last Thursday, I believe, we had the massive gap up and sell off day. Bit of a choppier day on Friday, quite a choppy day yesterday on Monday, and now we're leading into Tuesday. So I'm going to jump down into the 1 hour chart, as I think that the levels that we see today are going to be a little bit more clear on the 1 hour chart than looking at the daily chart, since we have had some of that chop. Some of the first things I would like to do is mark the high and the low of yesterday's session, and I may actually drop into a smaller time frame to do so. So let's see here. So high of the day was around there, low of the day was right there. We'll differentiate those by changing their color to the colors that I associate with the previous day's high and lows. All right, we've got that mapped out. We will mark the pre-market high, although it doesn't look like we're headed there. And so far, this is the pre-market low. So those are to be considered. In terms of areas that I'm watching for on a grander level, I would say this 454 area, and potentially up in here, this 455, 454, 455 are probably some levels to watch there. Where are those coming from? Those are looking at just areas that we've had a lot of price action around, whether that's been a lot of rejections where that area is acting as resistance, such as this 455, broke above it, it's acted as support once we're above it, resistance once we're below it, break back above it, support again. So there's some areas in there to watch. Like I said, we have the highs and lows from Friday's session. We have the highs and lows of the pre-market. With those noted, something I would probably be watching here is we had a bit of a choppy day. Technically, it was a downtrending day, especially if you ignore the last about 10 minutes of the trading day where we bounced off this 456 level and went, a couple dollars, almost $2 in price in the last 10 minutes of the day. If you ignore that, we did have a downtrending day. It was kind of a choppier day, but it was a downtrend, apart from this last candle here. So a bit of a downtrending day. We rallied at the very end of the day, came up, set a high in the pre-market, and we've sold off since then. We are opening, well, there's still about 5 minutes, but it does look like we may set to open above the high of yesterday's the low of yesterday's trading session. Overall, we are in a downtrend, and I believe what I would be looking for here is for us to either break below 456 or the 455.5 area to show weakness to the downside. So if we break below yesterday's low, if we break below the pre-market low, it's a pretty obvious indicator that we're heading down. If we are within this range, within, you know, the high and the low of yesterday, I think that there's a fair chance that we will be having another choppy day. That's generally the case when you trade inside of a previous range. I'm just making sure that I mark these zones here, kind of supply and demand. So you can see that we've bounced quite a few times yesterday off this area, rejected a few times off this area yesterday and in the pre-market as well. So something to watch as we head into today. For me personally, I'm looking for a breakdown here before I take shorts. I would look for a bounce down here, you know, potential if we come down and retest, if we get a few candles closing looking like that, some closes that look like some confirmation of a bounce. So if we come down into this key level and we get these, you know, these like green hammers, that could signify, you know, a justification for getting in for a bounce here. My only concern with that would be, you know, having this area that acted as demand previously being right above us, and potentially switching to resistance slash supply. So a short-lived bounce there, as you kind of see, could be happening here. But yeah, those are some of the levels I'm looking out for. I'm looking for a breakdown, for continuation downwards. If so, what I'm looking for is a break of these key levels and then a retest of these key levels confirmed by price action and or volume. And that will justify me entering a trade. If we break to the upside, since we are in this range of yesterday's trading session, we'd probably have choppier price action. I'd be a little bit more patient since I don't really have much in this area to watch for. I would chart intraday levels and try to determine if we're gonna form a trend, and if so, look for pullbacks into those intraday levels to go with the trend. That being said, I am gonna pop on some beats. Let's see here. All right, my friends, start getting things set up. Need to get a mouse pad. The mouse is pretty loud when I drag it across the desk here. So yeah, you can see overall structure. We've been above this 456 level. Once we've got above it, I mean, these spikes down, we have held above that pretty well. So if we break below this, not only is that yesterday's low of day, but that's obviously been a pretty strong support level the past 2 or 3 trading days. So if we do break below that area, I would look for continuation down. Market's opening any second now. What is going on here? We're looking at 1 day out expirations. As far as calls, maybe we'll say 457, nothing crazy. As far as puts, you know, maybe like a 455 or something. So we're opening above that low of day from yesterday. Looks like we are selling off. Coming into this level, this 456, we're finding a little bit of support, but we'll see how that reacts. I might actually back this thing on up and get to the hourly chart here. So it looks like we're finding a little bit of support in that area. We'll continue to watch it. Everything's looking good. We got expirations on tomorrow's date. So it looks like we're finding a little bit of support here. And there very well could be looking for a bounce up to this 456.5 and or 457 level. I mean, we've already kind of reached 456.5, but just looking at the hourly chart, some areas that we've kind of found some support at. We have found some strong support at 456.5 on the hourly chart. As you can see, we bounced 3 times from that level. This is also an area that we rejected off of in here on the pre-market, so we're kind of stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place here. We have a strong support below us, but also a pretty strong resistance on the hourly chart here. So we're gonna let this candle play out. We're gonna see what we can do here. So far, that 456 has held as a good support, which it has done throughout the week. So, or I guess the previous week, as well as today. So we're testing it. We're pushing right up into it. So it looks like we may be trading within yesterday's range. Again, would expect a bit of a choppier day if that's the case. I was curious to see if we'd break to the downside. And if we did, I'd be looking for continuation down. If we are within this range of yesterday's high and low, then I don't really have many levels marked in this area. You could look at potentially 457 as an area that we might see some price action react to. Like I mentioned just a little bit ago, we do have this 456.5 that you saw us find support at that level numerous times yesterday, and now acting as resistance in the pre-market, and so far on the opening candle here. So if we do stay within yesterday's range, what I'm going to be doing is plotting and really paying attention to intraday levels and see if we can't find a trend or some sort of pattern there. So we're pushing above. We broke above that 456.5 level. We're going to come to a close here on this candle relatively soon, in the next 12 seconds or so. You can see definitely still acting as a bit of a resistance. So we closed above it. We're making new highs. To see continuation of the upside, I think just looking at the pre-market here, you can see we've made lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So far, a lower high. I think we'd want to see a close above this 457-ish area to show strength. Which it looks like we're getting. We are pushing to the upside. A bit of a riskier trade, but you could have taken a bounce at this 456 support level. That was a strong support from yesterday. We opened above it, came down and tested it. I wouldn't really take that trade right off the open necessarily. But if you took these 457 calls as we're pushing up and approaching 457, that wouldn't have been a bad move. But I'm trying to be a little bit more patient. So that's not something that I was looking for, but something that you could potentially justify getting into, just based on how strong that level acted for us yesterday and kind of the rally that we saw off of that level. So I marked this here as it looks like we may not push higher than that. That's just marking our high of the day so far intraday. These golden or yellow levels that I will be creating throughout the day will just represent swing highs and swing lows within the intraday price action. So this is something that I'm implementing this week. I've seen other traders implement it, and I think it makes a lot of sense as you have the most current price action, you know, the most current levels that we've reacted or had some sort of response to, I guess you could say. So that's pretty much right at that 457. And as I was saying, unless we clear this area up in here, we are still in a downtrend technically on the grand scheme of things. So see, we're starting to get a little bit of a sell-off off that 457 area. We got a little less than a minute left in this candle to close. See a lot of selling off happening in Microsoft, Google, Apple. So that might indicate a potential move down here. If some of the leading stocks in the S&P 500 are down. So a bit of a recovery here, but still a pretty bearish candle in terms of coming all the way up and getting pushed all the way back down. We did close with a little bit more strength, however. So if we come up and retest this and fail to break, I might take 456 puts as an entry on a failure to set a new high. So coming up, looks like we might get it. So I may have missed an entry on that trade. I wanted to get an entry up here to have a good risk to reward ratio. I didn't quite catch it. There's still time. And it could be potentially too soon to take a rejection off this level, as we have set higher highs and have yet to set a lower low. But we'll see how this reacts here. It's based on the overall weakness, the downtrend on a higher time frame. If we can't set a higher high here, I think we could see continuation at least back down into this area of 456, which would be about a $1 move, which is great. So if you catch that, so here it looks like we might be selling off. We'll see if we can get below this 456.5 that we found as support on the previous candle here. You can see as we come close to that, we do bounce up a little bit, so we're kind of wicking off that. Still a little over 2 minutes left in this candle, but pretty low volume. Kind of on the sideline as of now. We got about a minute left on this candle here, just a little bit under. We haven't quite retested the high that we set on the previous candle. We have shown some weakness, a bit of a selling off, but we've also shown an inability to break below this 456.5 that we found support on the previous candle as well. So we're kind of within this little 50-cent range here. Like I said, I'd really want to see a break above this area, especially on the higher time frame, to look for a move up. Just because on an hourly chart, we are still in a downtrend. We are setting higher or lower highs and lower lows. So until that pattern breaks, until we can start to change that, taking calls is a little bit off the table for me. So you can see we're selling off here. We're starting to test that low, or that most recent low here. We're opening pretty much right on it. This could be the continuation down into 456. So definitely struggling to push higher. As you see, we've set, as of now, lower lows on these three candles here. And we're definitely seeing some selling happening up there. So here it looks like we might get that continuation down to the 456 level. This is the area that I'd target if you are playing a move to the downside. We'll see. We've had trouble closing below this area here. We have wicked below it so far. I think we'll get it on this candle. there we go. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a continued move down here. Still finding some support at this area though. Or at least some buyers in the area, I suppose. This price action would make me a little nervous if I was holding puts here, just because we came down and we got pulled right back up above that level. We do find some sellers up in here, so not a huge cause for concern as we are making, you know, lower lows or lower highs. I mean, and lower lows, but a bit of an in-between area here. I do believe we come down and test this area before any sort of bounce happens, though. Would be the bet that I would make. So kind of a bit of indecision at this area, right? We've wicked down, we've wicked up. Still about 30 seconds until this candle closes, but not a lot of body on it. Looks like a bit of an indecision between buyers and sellers here. I think a big indication would be if we could close below this 456.5 area here that we bounced off previously. A close below that level would, to me, act as kind of a reinforcing idea that we are going to probably continue a little bit lower before we reverse. So it looks like we might not. We just closed, so we are opening right at this level again. I wouldn't be surprised to see another bounce since we were unable to close below that level. So we'll see. I think one thing to keep in mind in a day like today where we are trading within the high and low of yesterday's trading session, so trading within yesterday's range, these are generally choppier days. We've been having a lot of these lately. Choppier days typically means we don't get a nice trend that you can just, you know, follow all the way down or all the way up. Typically these are days where it will be a little bit of a shorter amount of time holding a position, so more of a scalp than holding for 30 minutes or so, you know. So saying that as much for myself as anybody else, but just putting it out there that in these kind of choppier, more horizontal movement days, there are trades to be had. You just have to be a bit more selective and definitely cognizant of the fact that we are in a choppy price action. So if you have your profits if you start to see some signs of a reversal, you may want to secure them. So here we are showing still some indecision at this level, kind of inability to make any higher highs or higher lows, or lower lows, excuse me. Yeah, so no real trades for me. What would I look for? I would look for a break of this high. So if we set a new high and then pull back into this area, I would potentially be looking at calls if we did so. If we could break higher and then pull back into this previous high of day, that would be a justification for calls, maybe targeting this upwards area, 458 that we had yesterday's high a day, and some supply up there. So that could be a valid trade. Other than that, we could potentially come up here and set a double top. So if we come up and retest the current high of day, show weakness, fail to break above it, you could potentially look for puts down into this level. That's a bit more on the riskier side, but that could be an option. And if we break to the downside, I'm looking for continuation down. If we can break out at the bottom of yesterday's range, break out of these strong supports, 456-ish specifically, then I'd look for kind of a continuation or a trend down for the day. But as of now, we're just sitting and trying to let price tell us where it's going. Take a little sip of water. I'm actually something that I've been not as good at this week, but I'm going to check the financial markets to see if there's any. Okay, so that probably explains the choppiness that we see here in the opening half an hour. So in 5 minutes we have job openings for June coming out, we have ISM manufacturing coming out, and we have construction spending coming out. So I'm glad I looked at that. My assumption would be that a lot of this choppiness is a result of traders waiting for some of that economic data to come out, because we have 3 separate reports coming out in 5 minutes at 8 a.m. my time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. So I'm glad I checked that. I will not take any trades until we have that data release. Is it going to cause volatility in the market? Maybe. I think things like job openings, manufacturing are some indications. Construction spending, those are all indicators of kind of how the economy is doing. So I would assume that this morning is a bit low volume, a bit choppier. And also, if you're in calls or puts, you're just kind of getting chopped around in here. You can look. It's not great to hold through this. So we're chilling. We're waiting for at least another, 3.5 minutes or so until that data drops, and then I expect us to see probably some corresponding price action, a bit more of a movement. And it does look like we're coming up to retest possibly the high of day here at that 457 area. I'm not sure we'll reach it. But regardless, I'm not taking a trade until we have that data come out, because it could certainly sway things, especially with how choppy this price action's been, within about a 50-cent range here, perhaps even less. So there's no trades to be taken anyways. I mean, there's nothing really here. You could do ultra small scalps, you know, puts up here, calls down at this level, but you know, for a 5% gain or something, whatever you're looking for, but I would not recommend it. I'm gonna let the market tell me what to do. I would expect job openings to probably come in like high as I would expect that to be kind of a bullish catalyst per se, just because job openings, the labor market has been really strong, and that's been kind of a continuing trend recently. So that could be potential data that propels us upwards here when that drops. We'll see. We could hit 8 a.m. and nothing happens. That's possible. So we are coming up, retesting that high a day. I am mark that swing low just because it currently is the most recent low that we've set. So tomorrow we don't really have any data dropping. We have ADP employment dropping before the market opens, so that shouldn't really affect intraday moves. Thursday we do have some stuff coming out. Jobless claims, US productivity, factory orders, ISM services, and those are coming out after market opens. So Thursday has some catalysts to watch for, and then Friday there's a number of things happening prior to market open. So here you see it is 8, so those numbers should have been released, are in the process of getting released, and you can see increasing volume accompanying that. So we have set a new high. There we go. So I'm assuming that the job openings was probably bullish, as you see that initial reaction from that data coming out. We'll see how this candle closes, however, but this is kind of the volume that I was expecting once we have that data come out. Yeah, we'll see. If we can close up above this area, I'd look for a pullback into that. If we fail to close above it, if we fail to set a new high, I might look for a retest and puts off this 457 area. As you can see, we're definitely seeing some resistance. Still super early. Got about 3.5 minutes left in this candle, but it does look like we're experiencing some selling at this area. A lot of volume coming in. U.S. construction spending. So that was, oh, where'd it go? 0.5 versus 0.6 estimate. So it's actually slowing down, which is not bullish. Construction spending declining is generally a sign of tightening economic conditions, which is in line with the increased interest rates that we've been seeing. It makes it harder for them to borrow and build, less profitable. So that's not very bullish. I'm assuming there's kind of a mix of data there coming in terms of job openings were probably bullish. Construction spending was probably a little bit bearish, being slightly below expectations and dropping about 50% from previous data that we had on it. So we'll see. We're still kind of chopping around. But it is good to see some volume come in. That was most certainly what was happening in here, is we were just getting some chop as people waited for that data to drop. I'm glad I looked at that. I mean, you can see that the swing in the premium. We went from 1.27, dropped, $27, went up all the way to 1.44. So you don't want to hold an option when data drops, because you will probably get stopped out one way or the other as you see the swings in the premium. So that's something to be aware of, especially if you trade SPY, as it's definitely impacted by those kind of economic events or data coming out. Huge volume coming in though, almost as high as the opening bar. So we'll see here. All right, 30 seconds left. Unless we get a pretty wild swing here in the last, 20 seconds now of this candle. It looks like we will close above 457, set a new high. So I may look for a pullback into this area here, this 457 previous resistance, in hopes of a continuation upwards. Are pulling down into that level. Might take an entry here and set a tight stop loss. So that probably will stop me out. So I broke my own rule there. That was a bad trade. And the reason why that was a bad trade is a rule that I made as of yesterday was to wait for at least one confirmation candle close. So what I mean by that is, had this candle held this level and closed and showed support at this level, then taking an entry. Similar to, I wouldn't have taken puts here, but had we come up and retested and showed failure to break above, that could confirm that trade in terms of one candle failing to break above, a second retesting failing, that would offer confirmation. I didn't get any confirmation there. I took that trade too early. So that was my mistake there. I think it's also kind of a mistake just trying to trade this price action, as it's really choppy and kind of shitty. So not a trade I should have taken. That was impatience. So lesson to be learned there. Looking to be a little bit more patient on upcoming trades here. So for instance, this is sort of what I'm referring to in terms of a confirmation. If this does, got some volume coming in there, if this candle does close up above this 457 level, then that would show me that we tried to push lower and buyers held that support. That would be confirmation of taking a bounce off this area. Like I said, I took a call at this area with no confirmation at all. I'm glad I set my stop where I did, as I took a loss, nothing crazy. But yeah, I did not have the confirmation that I'd typically look for in that situation, so that's on me. I think patience is one of the harder things to let play out, especially when you've been kind of chopped around for the first like 30 minutes or so. So on the hourly chart, we're looking pretty bearish. If we do come up and retest this area, that might be something interesting to watch. A previous high, we've broke below that. Definitely something to watch for. We have set higher highs and higher lows, however, so technically we are in an uptrend. And taking a play against that would be taking a play counter to the trend, so I've already taken one kind of impatient trade here, so I'm not looking to take another. I would prefer to wait for some sort of direction or something to play out that gives me a better indication of where we might be headed. So once again, finding some support right at that 456.5 area. Pretty low volume on this candle so far. So we have kind of broken below that. This 456.37 is kind of our line of defense. If we break below that, we have officially kind of broken that uptrend, which is probably easiest to see if we look at, why is this not working here? If you look at this, we were trending up and we have broken out of that. This is the most recent kind of swing low. We're seeing some support at that level. If we break below that, we do have this 456 that's acted as strong support. So taking puts in this area, I would not recommend because we have two support areas that we bounced off before. However, if we break below these, that's a pretty bearish indicator that we may be going lower. So something to watch out for as we continue here. About a minute left in this candle. We'll see where we close. So a lot of selling coming off. We're retesting that 456 area. We're below it officially. A lot of volume coming in on this candle. We have officially broke below it. Finding some buyers, holding that line a little bit. We close below. So we officially have started a downtrend. We have made a lower low. In this instance, we would be looking for a retest of a support turned resistance. Also, you know, the formation of a lower high, and look for continuation down from there. We also have this pre-market low here at 455.5. So if we broke through both of those, pretty bearish. But this could offer is support not too far below that 456 area. So also a lot of volume coming in on this candle, and we still have like 2 minutes left, so something to watch here. Didn't quite reach that pre-market low, but it looks like we have bounced, and we're kind of retesting this yesterday's low of day area. A lot of volume coming in. So kind of retested that area that was once demand. Looks like it's flipped to supply. As you can see, now we're testing that pre-market low. So it would have been a pretty good entry. There was no candle to close for confirmation, so I did not enter that. But I might miss all of today's moves because of my kind of waiting for that confirmation. So we'll see. Hopefully I don't miss everything. Finding some support at the pre-market low. So I might look for a bounce up to 456 just for a quick scalp. If I see that we are holding this level, I might get in here. I'm gonna set a stop pretty tight. I'm looking for a quick bounce up to this area. I'm not trying to hold this trade. This would just be a quick scalp. The reason I got in on this trade is I did have the one candle confirmation, so we came down, tested that area, pulled back up, filled to close below it, came down, tested that area again, so I entered. This is counter to the trend, so I set a really tight stop. I would like to see us retest that 456. I'm not sure that we'll quite get there though. So we are pushing up. I'm gonna move my stop to break even, and I'm looking to take profit as soon as we touch that 456. So we'll see. Got about a minute left in this candle. It's holding steady. So I'm not sure that we'll get the bounce here. We're kind of... I may have missed the opportunity to take profit up here. I wanted to see us retest this area. That's the ideal. I might get stopped out at break even here though if we come down any lower. We got about 20 seconds left on this candle, so we'll see how we close. So coming into the close, it's looking like we're closing a little strong. We might get the bounce that I was looking for here. If we could just retest that area, that would be perfect. Looks like we might get it here. Maybe not. So I am just gonna take profit on that. As I was doubting that we would retest that level now. We might, but it wasn't showing a lot of strength. And we are in a downtrend, so I was taking a trade counter to the trend in the first place. So one thing I told myself is not to try to time perfect bottoms and tops, especially counter to the trend. I don't want to try to hold those and go from in profit to hitting my stop. So that was a super quick scalp. We might push up a little bit higher from here, but that was more in line with a trade that I would want to take. Ideally, the trades that I take are with the trend, and the current trend is a downtrend. So that was against the trend, but with the understanding that we're testing this pre-market low. We did have one confirmation that on a very high volume candle, we failed to close below that level, came down and retested it. So I felt comfortable taking that trade. Just didn't feel super comfortable holding it, especially with already having a losing trade in the pocket for today. So one bad entry up here, not waiting for confirmation. One much better entry down here with some confirmation at a key level, and supported by volume. You could see that there was a lot of buyers that prevented us from breaking below that level. It was the highest volume candle of the day. So if we couldn't break it with super high volume, that indicates that we probably have some buyers in here. So that was a bit better. I could have sold at the top, and actually I would have been in profit a few dollars on the day. But I did play it pretty safe in terms of managing a strict tight stop loss, moving that stop loss up to break even. And I took profits when we started to show some inability to go higher. So overall, maybe like an 8 out of 10 on that. We have super low volume. It looks like we might push up and retest that area. So yeah, here we are, we're pushing up, pushing into 456. So that's ideally right where I would have taken my profit. Retest of yesterday's low. And had I done so, that would have been a nice, you know, $20 move or so. I have no complaints. In terms of any further moves, I would need to see us break below this 455.5 for continuation down. Otherwise, if we break back up into this range, then we might just be in for a bit of chop. So I took my quick scalp there. Not really looking for any other trades at the moment. A potential move you could watch for is a rejection again from this area. So come up, retest this area and reject down further. The only issue that I have is that we've shown an inability to break below this level here. So again, that might be kind of a shorter trade, a bit of a higher risk because we do have this strong support just 50 cents below that area here. We do have a low volume kind of push up into this area though, so I would like to see, of course I have lawnmowers outside, so you can thank them for that wonderful background noise. But if we do get this low volume push up into this area, I may take a put and look for continuation down. So I am going to take a put here. Reason being for that, this was a strong area of support. It was yesterday's low of day. We're making a low volume push up into it. I may get stopped out here. But yeah, as you can see, these candles pushing up back into the retest of this area are all low volume, increasingly lower volume. So very possible that I get stopped out here. We also have the opening print here as well. So if we can break above that, I'll get stopped out. But I am looking for some supply to be in this area and for potential move back down to this 455.5. Looks like I might get stopped out here if we push a little higher. That's probably going to do it. So that could be seen as a bad entry on my part. Probably was a mixture of a slightly premature entry and maybe not giving my stop loss enough room, because we still are within this range here. I ideally probably wouldn't have wanted to be stopped out until we get out of that range. So we'll see if we can push up above that, but that was likely a bad position for me to take. A little premature, I suppose. So you see we start to encounter some selling in this area. So we are seeing some selling. I think ideally I probably would have waited for this candle to do its thing before I entered this trade here. Yeah, so we are kind of opening up right in this area. On a retest, I might take another, well, hard to say, because we're kind of finding that support right at 456. Don't take puts at support and don't take calls at resistance. We are kind of sitting right on the support, so I'm a little hesitant to take a re-entry on this trade. You know, had I held these calls, I found the bottom. So we are pushing up. Looks like we might get a little bit of a reversal here. There's also still this recent swing low that we broke to kind of confirm the downtrend. So a retest of this could be an area of interest for us. So I'm gonna wait for this candle to close, but I might look for another entry of 456 puts at a failure to break above this level. Reason being, it was the low that we broke to confirm a downtrend. We're retesting that. Also, we're right in this area that we have broken through and gotten, not, I guess actually that you can't call that a rejection, but we are still making lower lows, lower highs. So this is still within the form of a downtrend. You can see it on the hourly chart. We have had quite a bounce off the pre-market low here. So like I said, I'm gonna wait for this candle to confirm the trade before I enter it. But these 456 puts are down quite a bit. If we get a failure to break this, we get a retest on the next subsequent candle. That could be a decent trade to take in terms of risk to reward. If we come back and retest, say, this low of day, that gives a nice, a nice swing in premium there. Almost like a 1 to 4 risk to reward. If we risk about $10, could potentially make about like 40. So we're showing kind of an inability to break above that currently. Once again, we have lower volume. Still have a little over a minute left in this candle. I'd really like to see us close below this. Next candle come up and retest, and that's where I'd take my position. And that's just on the basis that on the sell-off we had rising volume, on the push-up we had lowering volume or retesting this key level that was support before. So we'll see. I don't want to take a put here though, because this is acted as support. So I want to take a put right up here if we retest with proof that we failed to break above it with this candle here. So I'm going to get my finger on the trigger. And this will likely be my last trade of the day if I do take it, if we get what I'm looking for here. Got about 15 seconds left here. Looking like we're going to close with below that level that I'm watching. So we'll see if we can't retest here. We're pushing up. I'm going to take an entry there. I'm going to set my stop. Slightly above. We're going to let this play out. I have to be wary of this 456 area, but ideally we come down and retest this low of day. That would be the ideal situation for this trade to play out. So it looks like we're coming down to retest that 456 area. Definitely seeing a little bit of a bounce down there. We've already got some volume coming in the first minute of this candle, so some volume accompanying the move down would be excellent. It would show a lot of strength if we break back below this 456. So we pushed above it a little bit there. We're continuing to move up. Continuing to move up. This will probably stop me out then if we don't push below here. So yeah, that's not stop me out. All right, well. Odd day today, super odd. I guess I should have just held my call from the bounce down here and that would have been excellent, but just another choppy day. We have this weird reversal on super low volume, so I don't know, I just didn't read it right. Looks like we still might reject off this level here. So I still feel like this trade is probably going to work out. I got stopped out of it. We are showing a resistance to break above that level, though. You see some volume coming in, some selling off happening. Ideally, I would have not gotten stopped out of this trade, as it still seems to be kind of confirming my thought that we'll come down lower. The real test is if we break this 456 area. So here we are, we're seeing some accompanying volume, finding some support. So I re-entered on this trade. I still feel pretty strongly about it, especially after seeing some of the price action here, as well as the volume kind of supporting it. We have pretty weak volume on our push up. If you look at the higher time frame too, We've made a lower high. We've had quite a big wick at the top, showing that there definitely are some sellers in this area. I'd really like to see us push down and retest this low of day. I'm going to take a second position, and this will be my last trade of the day. So I don't think we're going to get what I'm looking for here. We did break above that previous low of the day. Looks like we're going to find support there and probably go higher from here. So we could see a sell-off, but it's unlikely. I'll probably get stopped out here. So yeah, we're finding support here. This is not looking too great for me. All right, and that will do it. Got stopped out there. Another losing day. It was rough. I got caught up in the chop once we broke out of yesterday's range to the downside and with some increasing volume. I thought that we might continue that trend down. We did not. I caught a bounce here for a small scalp up to 456, and I should have held. I should have just taken that trade. Lo and behold, we would somehow reverse on extremely low volume. There's some things that I don't understand here, so it's back to the drawing board, I guess, for me. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.